Hi there, my name is Scott Johnson. For most of you who are watching this video, you actually already know my name and you've known me for quite a while. And I would say that probably a lot of you actually probably know at least a little bit of my story already. I became a Christian at the ripe old age of 16. My good buddy who lived across the street from me introduced me to God via Jesus, and I started going to church and youth group with him. And through that experience, I watched my youth minister do what he did, and I was inspired to do the same thing. So after high school, I attended Johnson Bible College in the late 80s and early 90s, solely for the purpose to become a youth minister myself. For over 10 years, I was able to minister to some amazing teenagers and kids in full-time ministry. I was able to partner with some great adults as well to be able to work towards the mission of befriending and equipping teenagers as disciple makers in how God was going to use them in their individual lives. It was absolutely some of the best times of my life for sure. In 2004, my wife and I moved us and our two little girls down to Charlotte, North Carolina to begin a new journey in church planting. But God actually had other things in mind for me, because after only 1 year, I lost my job due to the financial problems and issues that the new church had. I lost my job and immediately was trying to figure out what was next for me. For the next 4 years, I would spend that time working as an in-house graphic designer at another church, helping with another small church plant, and then also starting a full-time job as a graphic designer with my own business called Brown Cow. In 2010, we moved our family just south of Charlotte across the state line into South Carolina to join with yet another church plant. Unfortunately, that experience only lasted a year and a half because the church plant eventually closed its doors and dissolved, which left me once again back to square one, trying to figure out what to do next. Just after that experience in January of 2012, God led me on yet another journey, and this time a journey that I never saw coming and one I never signed up for. I started working at a friend's warehouse, driving a forklift and doing inventory. And then I was delivering pizzas at night. There were several times I had these out-of-body moments thinking, where did my life go wrong? How did I end up like this? Needless to say, it was a very difficult year. I had never really truly understood the relationship between the shepherd and his sheep before, even throughout full-time ministry. I quickly, though, realized that this situation was not a situation that would require my skills or my strategic brain or really any abilities that I had to offer. Instead, this situation was going to require my daily answer to God's question of, do you trust me? So I started journaling and writing down my daily pilgrimage experience now with this new shepherd-sheep relationship that I had found myself living life in. I mean, if at the very least it helped me keep my mind from spiraling out of control and helped me to focus. At first, I'm sure it probably was more along the lines of venting my frustration and trying to also like come into grips that my ministry life was gone, and I'm probably mourning that. But then I also started realizing that quickly it kind of turned into this questioning of what I really knew about God and what I really knew about Jesus and what I really knew about this relationship that he's calling every one of us into. And then more specifically, I started questioning what we were doing as Christians in our culture to further the kingdom of God. Wanting to explore this deeper, I went back to the beginning, the very beginning, and I started researching. And through this experience, which lasted 6 years, by the way, I started realizing that I was being led into and through a process, a specific process that I came to know as rethink, research, and rediscover. The most interesting part of this process was that God started sending people my way. People who are questioning just like I was questioning and going back to the beginning and trying to figure out what they really knew about God and Jesus and their relationship and what we were doing in this world as Christians. They were coming with questions, and they were in the beginning stages of the exact same process that I had been in for over 6 years and was still kind of going through. And for me, this was like super surprising. It was also kind of encouraging because, first of all, I was able to quickly realize that I wasn't alone in what I was experiencing. And it also showed me that this is a very, very real and very serious season of spiritual life that a lot of people go through and a lot of people will go through. And it showed that I could help with those who are going through this with the things that I had been learning. I could help them navigate through the forest. Allow me for a few seconds to share with you some kind of alarming statistics that I think will help tell the story. 2 decades ago, an average of 42% of U.S. adults attended religious services every week or nearly every week. A decade ago, that figure fell to 38%, and it's currently at 30%. This is from a Gallup poll. And then, according to the Christian Science Monitor, this quote: according to both scholars and pollsters, the American religious landscape has been simmering with change over the past decade. There's been the dramatic rise of the so-called nones, those who no longer subscribe to any religious tradition, and who include increasing numbers of those who label themselves atheists and agnostics. This diverse group now includes nearly 1 in 4 American adults and 35% of millennials, researchers say. But not included in this group are what sociologists are now identifying as the dones. Roughly 30 million Americans are former churchgoers who nevertheless maintain their faith in God and their Christian identity, according to Professor Packard, who coined the term. According to his research, another 7 million are, quote unquote, almost done with institutional religion. The journaling that I had mentioned earlier eventually turned into a podcast. The podcast turned into a book, and then the book turned into me being able to help and coach those who are going through the same process that I had gone through earlier. A stage that today is being labeled as faith deconstruction. For the last 4 years, I have dedicated each and every day to figuring out where all of this was leading. At first, I looked into blindly to advice from professionals. Unfortunately, all of that went absolutely nowhere. And in 2022, I finally fully surrendered. I fully surrendered to allowing God and only God to guide and direct me each and every day. This organically led me to a friendship with 2 guys, Chris and Tyler. Chris and Tyler are ministers on the campus of the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, here in Charlotte, via a ministry called Impact. And that friendship then organically led into a partnership where we realized that we wanted to help those who are trying to deconstruct their faith, navigate the process, and then help equip them into becoming Jesus disciple makers. The term rheology started out for me as a definition of the process that I had found myself going through years ago. But today it has evolved into a new ministry that we are seeking to create immediately, that will focus on helping God seekers sort through the cycle of questioning and learning, a cycle of rethink, research, and rediscovery. In order to focus fully on this new nonprofit, I am looking for other partners like you, quite honestly, who will help me in raising support financially for this new ministry in primarily two different ways. One, for the startup costs. In order to register Rheology with the state of South Carolina as a legit nonprofit, that costs money. It's a couple $100s. So that's the first way. The second way is to raise money, support, quite honestly, for me, to allow me to be able to do this as a full-time job. To start, I've created a GoFundMe campaign to at least raise the initial funds needed to get this off the ground and to make Rheology a legit nonprofit. Any funds that are raised beyond this first simple goal will go to help support me directly. Again, this new nonprofit will be dedicated to helping Christians find out how God will use them in his mission of global reconciliation. It will help those who have honestly fallen through the cracks, those who are questioning, those who are in the middle of deconstructing their faith, and even those who are simply just looking to go to the next level of obedience. Rheology will be a completely free resource to anyone who fits that description, and it will be supported by financial partners and donors. So here's where you come in. If you would be willing to help me raise financial support for this new nonprofit, number one, I would be incredibly grateful and honored to have any donation that you would like to give. In order to do that, you can simply follow the link that's in the description of this video or the link that is attached to the social media post. And it will take you to our GoFundMe page where you can make a donation of any kind that you wish. Also, if you'd like to learn more about what I'm trying to do here and the mission and the goals that we have in mind, you can simply just reach out to me via social media, or you can go and contact me via the website, which is rheologylife.com. Of course, I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have and to share further with what we're trying to accomplish. Again, I want to say thank you so much for, at the very least, just taking a few minutes here and watching this. But also, I want to thank you in advance for your consideration and possibly for your support. Thank you so much.